Welcome to the 7-8 podcast,
where falling down isn't failure,
and getting back up is the secret to life. What's up, everybody? Michael Johnson here and Lexi Raffel with the 7-8 podcast. And I'm excited that you joined us today because
I'm excited too.
You're well, okay. Lexi's excited too, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because today we're gonna be talking about the street fights, the courtroom brawls, the fire, the depression, the reinvention at age 65.
65, there you go.
Holy Hannah, we've got a lot to cover today, and we're going to be talking about none other than Mr. Colonel Sanders and KFC. So Lexi's got a lot prepped for us and a lot of cool things to share with us along the way to let us into the inside world of Colonel Sanders and KFC. But before we get to that, we've got some housekeeping to do. So you're going to want to stick around to hear all those things. But we've got a couple things that we want to cover first. What are those things, Lexi?
Oh, I thought you were going to go. And I was like, I'm the one that has the notes over here.
I know. That's why I was like, oh, I did the rest. But raw and unfiltered.
Raw and unfiltered. Well, we've got some comments to go through. And so we can start with that. We have, if you didn't listen to the last episode, we started something where we read some of our good comments and we talk about some of our bad comments because we keep it very, very real. And sometimes we fall down and we got to get back up. Sometimes people like it. Sometimes people don't. So a good comment.
Oh no, we'll talk about the bad ones for. No, we'll do an Oreo cookie. We'll do the good one and a bad one and a good one.
Okay, good one, bad one, good one. All right. You start with the good
one. This one is from Jehan Falkulan. I don't know how to. Anyway, this episode hit deep. Proof that the path to greatness is paved with pain, persistence, and purpose. That was a fun alliteration. Phil Knight's story reminded me of that rejection isn't the end. It's the beginning of something greater. I'm walking away with a renewed sense of courage to keep going, even when it's hard. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that review. And if you haven't listened to the Nike and Phil Knight episode, go listen to that. It's a fun episode. We talked about a lot of cool things in there. Yeah, and then I'll let you do the bad one because it was really about me. I can take it. I'll take my lumps.
They just said that I should talk more. So I don't know if that's if that was a bash on Michael, if it was a bash on me. I guess I will take it as a compliment. We'll do a little reframing. It's always good to reframe, and I will talk more. And
it's okay. I can take my lumps. I will pass the baton a little bit more and we'll let you speak more often because I can talk, and that's
I know you are good at talking.
Really.
I don't think it's a problem. I think it's really great that you have so many good and wise things to say. I sometimes get sucked in too as we're in the episode and Michael's saying these things and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. That is so good. And I get sucked in like I'm listening and I'm like, oh, I should be talking. So anyway.
We can get some support for Lex. We'll put some hashtag in the comments. Hashtag Lexi talk more. Let's see what happens. Okay.
All right, let's do one more good. Oreo.
One more good. I love this podcast. I can totally relate to it. I've had so many major setbacks, but I will not let it hold me back. I look forward to listening to the other episodes. Thank you. That's Robin. Thank you so much, Robin. We love you too. We're so happy that it made a difference for you, and you got this. You just keep getting back up. You got this. Go fight, win.
Awesome.
Or 7-8.
Sorry, 7-8.
All right. Before we jump in, let's get a quick word from our sponsor, none other than Business Choreography.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Business Choreography System. If you've ever felt like you've got all the right ideas, but the pieces just won't fit together, this is for you. We built the Business Choreography System for experts, educators, and entrepreneurs who are done duct taping their businesses together. It's the system that shows you how to organize, build, and grow with clarity and momentum. If you're ready for structure that feels like it was made for you, join the free masterclass at createmyimpact.com. That's where the next chapter begins. Now, let's get back to the episode. All right, we're back. Awesome,
Rock and
awesome.
roll.
So today we are going to be talking about Colonel Sanders, like we said in the beginning, and we always like to share why. We are talking about his story, and we chose Colonel Sanders because the story defies every excuse we tell ourselves. As I dug in more and more, I already knew that he was late in his journey of being um, I was gonna say being successful. I think he had lots of successes along the way, but the success that we know as KFC, he was late in his journey, and I think that's kind of the classic thing. But as I dug in, like he went through a lot. He went through a lot, and so um, the story defies every excuse we tell ourselves. He didn't find success in his 20s or his 30s or even his 40s. He failed, he fought, he lost everything. And then at age 65, with just $105 and a recipe, he started over. His story is messy and raw, and it reminds us that it's never too late to bet on yourself. For any entrepreneur, creative, or dreamer who feels behind or broken, this episode is proof that your next chapter might just be the one that changes everything. So, that's why we wanted to share it. Michael, I think you started researching him a little bit ago for an ad that we were doing, and so why did you want to share the story?
I think that it's it's so interesting because KFC is a global enterprise. They
Right.
are, I believe, they're the biggest fast food chain in the world, which most people usually attribute to
Dang,
things.
I forgot to find that video.
Oh, you had that video, I remember.
Ah, dang.
But I believe they are the biggest one currently, and I think most people think that belongs to like McDonald's or something else like
That's
that.
what I always thought.
But chicken, I think, is relatable everywhere in the world, and so I think, you know
Chicken
what I
is
mean?
relatable?
Yeah, yeah, it's relatable.
What do you mean by that?
Well, like everybody eats chicken. I mean, unless you're vegetarian or something, right?
Uh,
But
I mean, I
that
had chicken today.
that doesn't count if you're vegetarian, so you can't throw your bid in the hat right there. But when I went to China and visited China multiple times, there's always KFCs. All over Asia, there's KFCs. There's KFCs in South America. There's KFCs all over the US, right? Like they're everywhere. And it's because I think everybody everywhere has poultry, right? Like it's relatable. Like you can say,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, I'm gonna have some chicken, and the fried chicken that they did is pretty unique, and it's kind of a cool thing. So it's pretty cool. And I was fascinated by the fact that when I found out he was 65 when he
Right.
started that, he actually his first go at it was here in Utah, where I
It
live.
was.
I've even on the freeway you can see one of their first buildings that they had.
Actually, I've never been to it. I didn't realize
I
until
haven't
I
been to,
was researching
but you
today.
can drive by it.
That's so
But
crazy.
anyway, so I got fascinated with that because it's just like ultimate hope for all of us visionaries and dreamers and entrepreneurs that are just swinging the bat, right? We're swinging the bat, and one
Yeah.
of our mentors always says you only need one to blow up, and then the rest are easy. You only need one to blow up. And
Yeah.
his story, and you're going to share a lot of the details on the background and inside of it, but
Right.
like just that little bit of the story is like, wow, okay, all right. It
Yeah.
wasn't special. He was at the end of his rope again,
Right.
and and he made something that blew up, and he just needed one. You
Indeed.
just need one.
Indeed. Love that. Uh, let's hear a little bit from him
Okay.
in an interview. He's obviously old in these, and so sometimes it's a little bit hard to understand him, but I think we'll be okay. So let me share this. I think this is the one I want.
At a very,
Okay.
very strategic time of your life, the highway came through and took all the business. The interstate came through and took all the traffic off of your particular road. Am I thinking correct?
That's right.
And you were going to lose, and you lost the business?
That's right. I sold it at auction. Man.
Sold it for auction?
Just got enough out of it to pay my taxes and bills, you see.
What age were you at that time, Colonel?
I was 66 years old when I started franchising in earnest.
Well, but when you lost the business, when you lost your motel, you were really looking forward to this being the nest egg that you'd worked for all of your life.
Yeah.
And now it was gone, had to sell it at the auction. You were at 65 at that time?
65, but I'd already had a guinea pig franchise out or two, knowing that I was going to have to franchise. I wanted to see how they would take, you see. So then I started franchising in earnest when I was 66 years old. I just say the moral to my life, don't quit at age 65. Maybe your boat hasn't come in yet. Mine hasn't. And so,
We'll stop it right there.
Don't quit it.
I love that last piece so much.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Moral of the story, don't quit at age 65.
He's like talking about all these different things. And he was talking about another business that had failed. And now he's starting KFC and starting those franchises. And then he's more of the story. Don't quit. Don't quit.
Love that.
So I also found some good quotes from Mr. Colonel Sanders. And his first name's not actually Colonel, so we all know that's just what his character became, and he was in the military, and it's actually a little bit confusing, but that's what he became known as is Colonel Sanders. His name, oh, now I can't remember. Nobody knows. We all just know Colonel. Anyway, so quotes. When older people ask me, how have you been so successful? Oh, and this is from his autobiography, by the way. How have you been so successful after age 65? I tell them, anyone who's reached 65 years of age has had a world of experience behind him. He's had his ups and downs, all the trials and tribulations of life. He certainly ought to be able to gather something out of that, something he can put together at the end of his 65 years so he can get a new start. The way I see it, a man's life is written by the way he lives. It's using any talent God has given him, even if the talent is cooking food or running a good motel.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've heard that so many times. I mean, we talk to a lot of
Right.
people, and I've heard when people that have vision and dreams and an idea, and they're like,
Right.
but I'm too old to start, and I just can't help but think of his story. How do you
Oh,
how do you compete with that? They're like, I'm too old. I can't do the tech. Are you kidding? We
right.
have somebody that uses our software that's 80 years old, and he is perfectly adept at it and just
He's
ready
doing
and
so
willing. He's a
good.
sponge and learning it and just doing great at it.
Yeah.
So I just don't have a whole lot of belief that you can't do it based on your age. In fact, if you're older, you actually have more wisdom and more experience than the
Right.
rest of us. It's just you might have to learn a couple new things with the new tools.
Right. Right. Okay, next one. You can reach higher, think bigger, grow stronger, and live deeper in this country of ours than anywhere else on earth. The rules here give everybody a chance to win. If my story is different, this is the part that I really like. If my story is different, it's because my life really began at age 65 when most folks have already called it a day. I think that's so funny.
I love it.
Next one. I'd been modestly successful before I hit 65. After that, I made millions. They're when they're about 60 or 65, a lot of people feel that life is all over for them. Too many of them just sit and wait until they die, or they become a burden to other people. The truth is, they can make a brand new life for themselves if they just don't give up and hunker down.
I think that's even more true now than
Yeah,
it's ever been in the history of mankind. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement, but I really do think it's more true than it has ever been, ever.
yeah,
There's just not an excuse anymore of age being the holdup in this age of technology and what can be done. I mean,
right,
even there's just so many cool things and advancements that he didn't have and that we have now. Just
right.
AI alone, if you're over the age of 65 and you're listening to this, even if you're not, go open Chat GPT or one of the free LMM models and Gemini, whatever, whichever model you like to use, right?
Yeah.
But open Chat GPT. You don't even have to pay for it. Use the free version and start telling all your stories to AI. Tell all your stories, tell your experiences, tell all the things that you've done. And then when you can't think of any more stories to tell it, ask it to actually remind you of what you know and remind you of your experiences and remind you of how cool you are. And then
You're
send me
pretty
that
cool.
crap because I would like to hear it.
All the cool things. Man, if you need help, like, and you need to be reminded, please let us know because we will help you figure out um, what it is that you can share with the world.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so next one. This is my last quote. Last week, I had like 20 quotes. I was like, I better stick to 3 or 4 this week. I want to tell people you're only as old as you feel as you wait, you're only as old as you feel or as you think. And no matter what your age, there's plenty of work to be done. I don't want to sound like I'm clearing my throat and giving advice about how a man can be successful. I'm not all puffed up. My main trade secret is I'm not afraid of hard, back cracking work. After all, I was raised on a farm where hard work is the way of life.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay, there's some good quotes. Good quotes. Now let's jump into a bit more of his story. I learned a lot and this human went through a lot. I could not believe it. Okay. Here it is. So just an overview of his story. Before he was the smiling face on a bucket of chicken, Colonel Sanders was a broke man on the verge of giving up. He lost his father at 6, dropped out of school at 12, fled abuse, failed at law, and watched half a dozen businesses crash around him. He buried his son, he buried his dreams more than once, and just when the roadside cafe finally caught fire, it burned to the ground,
Oh my
literally.
gosh.
By age 65, Sanders was broke and bitter, no restaurant, no income, just a social security check, a pressure cooker, and a secret recipe. But that's when he did the unthinkable. Instead of retiring, he hit the road, sleeping in his car, knocking on doors, begging strangers to try his chicken. Rejected over 1,000 times, mocked for being too old. But one yes turned into 100, 100 turned into 1,000. And that's how Kentucky Fried Chicken was born. What makes a story powerful, what makes it 7-8, isn't just how late he started, it's how many times he had to begin again. This is the 7-8 story of Colonel Sanders.
Wow.
You're like speechless, right? Let's go into the first part of this story. That was a good overview of his 7-8 story, and
Right.
I want to dig into each piece. So we'll start with Harland. That is his first name.
Harland.
Harland. Yep. So when Harland's father died suddenly in 1895, the 6-year-old was thrust into a role no child should bear, With his mother forced to work long shifts, Sanders became the family cook and caretaker. By age 7, he could bake bread and prepare full meals while also foraging for vegetables. He described himself as mother and father to his younger siblings. The
Wow.
emotional cost of shouldering responsibilities so young never left him, but it taught him to be resourceful, reliable, and relentless. I mean, he was forced to grow up real quick, wasn't he?
No doubt. Holy cow. I mean, things were different back then for sure, but
Yeah,
it was, and just think about it, like during that period of time, his mother had to go get a job, which also was different back then, right?
yeah,
They
that's
that
true.
that wasn't as normal.
1895.
1895.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's also interesting when you look at this. He was making food at a young age, and so I like this piece because it showed um, like the beginnings of why he liked to cook and why KFC
Right.
became a thing is because it was rooted from that at a very young age of 6.
Cooking from the beginning. You just
Cooking
never,
from the beginning.
you just never know.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but you know what? That makes that's a huge clue. I think a lot of times when I talk to people that don't think they have ideas or don't think they have a
Right.
vision of something they could create, he took his cooking and turned it into something.
Yeah,
And
that's
it was something unique, even though cooking is not unique.
right.
And then took it even further. I think that's really cool. I'm sure as you tell us the remainder of these stories, you'll see it start to shape up in
Right,
that, oh, we had this experience and that taught him about these things. And
right,
then it all just sort of started coming together because of that.
right. Okay, let's go to the next. This is when he was 12. So after years of hardship, Harlan's home life turned unbearable when his mother remarried. The new stepfather was strict, severe, and abusive. By 7th grade, Harlan dropped out of school. Not sure you could really like do that now, but he
Wow.
dropped out of school and left home to work on a farm. Though he jokingly blamed algebra for the decision, the real story was deeper, a boy choosing freedom over fear. The early leap taught Sanders how to fend for himself and planted the seeds of his fiercely independent spirit.
An entrepreneur was born
And-
because he had to
I know. He didn't have
right?
a choice, right?
Find a way to make money, find a way to make enough money to eat.
Right. Yeah. And at such a young age, I mean, I don't. That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, next story, unless you have something
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
Okay, so the blow up in his 20s, Sanders found a surprising career as a self-taught lawyer in Arkansas, but it ended in chaos. During a court case, he got into a fist fight with his own client
Oh
in
no.
front of the judge. He was arrested, charged with battery, and disbarred. Sanders
What?
later admitted, yeah,
With his own client?
yeah. Sanders later admitted his temper and self-righteousness sabotaged the opportunity. It was a humiliating public fall from grace, the first time he truly saw his own flaws as the enemy. And I think this is interesting because we all make mistakes and we all um lose our temper around things and say things that we don't mean, and we gotta get back up, right? We've got to get back up and we've got to keep going and acknowledge that maybe it wasn't quite the right thing, but it's over and now move on to the next.
Wow. Well, I mean, and you kind of incidentally, to get to that story, you kind of glossed over the fact that he studied to be a lawyer and
Right,
clearly passed the bar
right.
because they said he was disbarred, which means that he had to have passed the bar.
Right.
So, uh, and he had to have gone to school for that. I mean, at the time, he studied
Right.
for that, but I don't think maybe at the time you could study to take the bar even if you didn't go to school, but I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah, I
But
don't know. I don't
but
really understand how all that happened, but
but you got in a fight with your own client in the courtroom with the judge watching?
right.
Oh, that's talk about a fall. Yeah, that's a fall.
Yeah, that's a good ball.
Wow.
Okay, next one. The 1920s were a brutal season. Sanders launched a ferry boat company. It was shut down by a new bridge. He invented a lamp company. Electricity wiped out the market. He tried selling tires. A car crash took him out of commission. At home, his wife grew frustrated. She left him, taking the kids. Though she returned, the damage lingered. Um, I
Wait,
mean,
you said a ferry, like a ferry boat
yeah, ferry
company,
boat company.
and they built a bridge so the ferry boat company was no longer needed.
Yeah.
What? That is horrible luck.
I know. I do feel like there was a lot of unlucky things that happened to him along his journey.
Yes, I made it. I have my boat company. What could go wrong? Wait, you're building a what? A bridge? Are you kidding me? Like, what?
Right.
And then did you say a tire company?
Yeah, a tire company. He tried selling tires.
Oh, geez.
That didn't work out.
Okay.
Yeah, he tried all kinds of different things along his journey.
Just think
Lawyer.
you could have ended up making like big O tires. That
That would have been interesting if that was
isn't that a big
his
franchise? I
path.
think that's a big franchise.
Yeah, I think it
They are
is.
not sponsoring this podcast, but if you'd like to, let us know. Um,
Next part of
next.
the story.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
this is getting good.
The shootout.
What? Wait, you didn't mention that earlier.
Yeah, I did. I did mention it.
The
By the
shootout?
Yeah, by the early 30s, Sanders was running a service station in Kentucky. A rival named Matt Stewart vandalized his road sign, and Harlan responded. Alongside a shell manager, Sanders confronted him. Stewart pulled a gun and fatally shot the manager. Sanders fired back, hitting Stewart in the shoulder. Though charges were dropped, the trauma stuck. It was a turning point uh, because in the South it could get deadly, and Sanders would fight for his turf.
Wow. A shootout.
Yeah.
Wait, did his manager guy die?
Yeah, his manager died, or his manager guy died.
Holy cow.
Yeah,
That got ugly quick.
yeah,
Man,
yeah. I
those
feel
are
like this is like a movie. Like,
how is there not a movie on this already?
I don't know, maybe there is. There should be. Like, just from his childhood of at 6, his dad dying, and then he left school at 12, and then he did all of these things, and then he started this business, and there was a
Now he's at
shootout.
a gas station where his manager dies in a shootout. Like, we're in the
Right.
1930s. But this isn't like the Wild Wild West here.
I kind of feel like it's the Wild
It
Wild
feels a
West.
little bit like it, right?
Yeah, so crazy.
Wow. Okay. This gets better, I'm sure. Here we go. Keep going.
Well, his son died just a year
Oh,
after the shootout. Tragedy struck again.
wow.
This is why I was saying earlier that it just brought a lot of perspective. I'm like, look at all of these things that happened, and he just continued to get back up and try again with his dream to be a businessman, to be successful, to make $1 million. Like, I don't know exactly what the dream was, but clearly it was fueling him on his journey to keep getting back up and do the next thing. I mean, if I had to guess, like, it seems like he was going after the millions and trying to find that, but I don't know. I don't know, and we obviously can't ask him.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Son died. Did he die like tragically?
Um.
Doesn't matter. He died. I mean,
Yeah. I think he got sick. I think is what it was. I don't remember what it was. So,
sure.
yeah.
Wow.
The fire is after this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. It gets
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah. Will you turn your sound just down a little bit?
hmm
Awesome. Okay. I can hear myself.
Oh,
It was echoing through. Okay, by the 30s, Sanders' court and cafe was thriving until a fire reduced it to rubble. He watched as flames devoured the business he'd finally gotten to work. So this was a success. He had this cafe that he was running that was working, and a fire burned it down. Until a fire
was it
reduced it.
nefarious, or was it just like, or did they not say?
They didn't say what the reason was, so
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. But within months, and I love this part, like the rise, but within months he rebuilt, this time with 140 seats and greater ambition.
Jeez.
And it was added to a restaurant guide, which made it so, people were going, I think. And
Right.
right now, what do we have? Diners. What is that show?
Diners, dives, and drive-ins.
Yeah, diners, drives, and I think it's like that. You get on a show like that, and all of a sudden everybody wants to go to that. And so he was put on this restaurant guide, and so people wanted to go see this restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do we know where he was at during this time? Was he in Kentucky? I mean, because that's kind of funny if he was.
Man, you're asking me such good questions that I
Well,
don't know.
it's more just curiosity. It doesn't actually have to do with his fall, but I just am curious if this is like, okay, maybe he was making this chicken at this cafe already.
Maybe he was. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, for this next one, let's listen to a little story. Ooh. I wonder. Well, I think I played the wrong one earlier, but that's okay. Let's listen to him again.
Is it true you're 89 years old?
I was 89 last September. I'm on my way to the 90th now.
Wow. Don't you believe in retirement?
No. Not a bit in the world. When the Lord put old Father Adam here, he never told him to quit at 65, did he?
Right.
He worked for 30 years.
Right on.
I think as long as you've got health and ability, why, use it to the end.
I love that.
Yeah, very
That
good.
is great.
Yeah, I did mean to play that one earlier and then play the one that was earlier right now because that was talking about this story. But
Sure.
that's okay. No big
Yeah,
deal.
it worked out great.
It worked out. I think is a good.
Don't you believe in retiring?
No.
That actually, during that time, like you look at that, if you're not watching on YouTube, go check it out on YouTube, but you can see the era that they were in. And granted, it was on TV, which he lived through the upswing of TV. So he's on a TV show here, and you can see through their dress kind of the era that it was in. Yeah. And the interesting part there is that not retiring wasn't what was being sold to humans at the time. Right. And now we're entering a bit more of a, I don't know if you would call it progressive, but there's more and more people going, well, I'm not going to retire. Like, what would I be doing? But there was an era of time where they, whoever they is, sold the population and sold the paradigm of work really hard and then you can retire and do nothing. And people bought into the idea. Now looking back at that during that time, that was kind of a progressive thing to say. I'm not going to retire. Why would I
Yeah,
retire? I'm gonna,
totally.
but now I think we're kind of heading back towards that. Like I look at it and I don't want to retire. Like, what would I be doing? Sitting around on my butt? Like doing
Right.
like I mean, I like Cheetos, but not that much. And
Ew. I
no,
hate
but
cheese.
but
Side note about Lexi.
yeah, so I think that was pretty progressive for him then too. In that statement had a lot of telling story to it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Uh, so at 65, and I think this is the very classic story around Colonel Sanders. But at 65, Sanders' business was gutted again, this time by progress, a new interstate rerouted traffic away from his cafe.
What?
Another, I mean, I can't. This guy's luck. It's.
Uh, okay,
I
so
think
first,
everything was leading to KFC, right? Like everything had to
sure,
fail so he could have
do that.
KFC. Like the universe said, you are building KFC.
Well,
So
but think about it. Like he had a ferry business
right.
and a bridge got built. That's interstate, right? But
Yeah.
so you didn't have to take the boat. Now he's
Yeah.
got a cafe, and now they're doing an interstate again. This is about transportation
Yeah.
messing up his business.
Yeah. Again. So crazy. So he sold the property, paid his debts, and he was left with $105 Social Security check.
Oh my
Most
god.
people would have called it retirement. Sanders hit the road. He drove town to town, sleeping in his car, pitching his fried chicken recipe to restaurants. Hundreds said no, a few said yes. That was enough.
Wow.
I love after every wow.
I mean, that's just crazy sauce. Crazy chicken.
Crazy chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty crazy what he
He
went
had to
through.
have been cooking that in his cafe. Come on now.
Yeah, I think he probably was, and then he decided that he wanted to franchise it, right? He
Yeah,
wanted
like
to get it to other
everybody loved.
people.
Maybe the chicken was like the best-selling item. So he was like, "Well, let's go try to do something with this." you know.
Yeah. And I mean, he just kept going, so many no's, and he just needed that one yes. And I think we hear that all the time. If you're already a business owner or aspiring to be something, be a business owner, um, there are going to be lots of no's along the way. There are going to be lots of them. And all it takes is that one yes to go, okay, yeah, I can keep doing this. People are liking this. It's good. And I think it helps outweigh some of those no's too, because it's like, okay, one person needs this. I got to keep going. One person needs this. Okay, now another person needs it. Okay, now another person needs it, and it fuels you, it keeps you going.
No doubt. Wow.
Okay. This is after I thought this was interesting. Even after KFC became a global brand, Sanders wasn't done fighting. He hated the company's changes to his recipes, called the gravy sludge, cursed out franchises. Then KFC tried to shut down a restaurant he ran with his wife, and Sanders sued them for 122 million. He
Oh my
settled for
gosh.
1 million and a chance to teach the executives how to make proper gravy. To the end, he defended his legacy with fire in his belly. Yeah, I mean, as you franchise, I think people were probably trying to make things cheaper, and the recipes are not the same. But there is that restaurant uh, that still exists that has his original recipes. I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta go to this because I didn't know we weren't getting the original.
Really?
Yeah.
We aren't?
I don't think we're getting the original fried chicken in all of his recipes. I think they've all kind of been changed, and he that's what he wasn't happy about. It's talking about the gravy, but I think it was about a lot of it.
Really?
Yeah.
And is that the place that's here in Utah?
It's not the place that's here in
Oh.
Utah. It's I think it is in Kentucky, and it's named after his wife.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. New bucket list place to go.
I know. I thought the same thing. I was like, I want to go.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the story of this man and the falls and more importantly the rise and the continuation to get back up.
Relentless.
I mean, yeah, he was relentless, he was resilient, he kept fighting to the end for what he believed in.
Right. Right. Wow.
Yeah.
I know I've said that a few times.
I mean, that is your word for this episode.
This episode, yeah.
Wow.
Hashtag
You're gonna be
wow.
like, stop saying wow.
Well, I we talk about these falls and these journeys that
Yeah.
people are going on, and I read in one of the comments that it's not always just about the famous people, but I think we have been bringing up people that are famous because I think there's an element of, oh well, they must have had it handed to them, or well, they are just lucky somehow, more lucky than me. And I think when we as what we would consider regular people are going through life, we're looking at some of those things, and I think to some extent we want to believe that they were somehow more special than us, because it kind of gives us this like ability to not do it, to not try, to not get up.
Yeah.
And in episodes past we've talked about the silent fall, and I want to keep bringing it up because I think it's important.
Yeah.
It's not just about the loud fall. It's not about my restaurant burned down. Yes, that's an obvious fall, right? But sometimes it's about the silent fall, the fall that you're not telling anybody about, the fall that's happened within, and you're trying to figure out a way to muster up the strength to get back up and try to sell that chicken.
Right.
And wow, that's why it deserves a wow, because it's not about just the loud falls. It's about what happened in there. And I think by telling some of these stories, we can sort of extrapolate what was going on in between. You pointed out some heartbreaking things, losing his son and the business burning down, and his manager of his station, obviously was somebody close to him, got shot and killed right before your eyes. Like, who lives through that? There had to have been a lot of mental challenges, not just the actual outward challenges.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
Internally, he had to have been going through a huge amount, right? Like his wife left him, took the kids. I mean, just that would be enough to crush most people.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and I will say there is as I researched, and I forgot to do my little disclaimer, like, there's a lot of information out there, and if there's anything wrong, then please let us know, and I do my best, and my typical spiel. But there is a lot of I think controversy around this man and some of the things that he's done, and the good, the bad, and so I did find that kind of interesting as I was looking through stuff. But I mean, he went through a lot. And now people are analyzing, and those. I think some of the titles on the videos are the crazy chicken man. Like, people are just trying to come up with good hooks and find the bad that's going to show this crazy thing that he did. But I think overall, he he went through a lot. He went through a lot, and he just wanted to make really good food for people, and he wanted it to be quality, and that's what he wanted.
When I think, can you imagine? I mean, it's been years and years after his passing, and there
Yeah,
are
he
people
died in
looking for
1980.
1980. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, lived through some pretty major changes in the world
Yeah,
from the 1800s,
1895 was
1895 to, yeah, there's some massive differences in the world.
I think that's right. Sorry if that's wrong. I'm trying to
But
remember.
I think, can you imagine, you, our listener, can you imagine having your life scrutinized
Oh my gosh.
by everybody, your ups, your downs, looking for your shortcomings, looking for the mistakes that you made, and trying to analyze, how good of a person you were. And he's been long past.
Right.
But I think what we're trying to do here is just point out that he was human, just like the rest of us. And he lived
Which
through
means that we can do some pretty incredible things.
I think so. And more importantly, you out there listening can do some pretty incredible things. In fact,
Indeed.
my guess is that many of you already are, and that means that you are likely in store for some downs and some ups.
Just
And
part of life. The waves. We got to find
The
that
wave.
video. You remember the waves video?
yes,
That's a good video. I got to find
I'm sure you'll find it.
it.
That being said, we are very quickly collecting stories from all of you guys out there, and we'd love to hear your stories. So you can go over to the website 78.life and share your stories with us, and maybe somebody needs to hear them. So we would love to hear those. You'll be able to do it real easy. We've made the process and choreographed it to be really straightforward, really easy to do. And of course, do us a favor, and if you're listening to this and you know somebody that needs to hear it and needs to hear about this, to give them a little bit of push to keep building that thing that they need to be building for their own soul, for the world's soul, please share it with them and subscribe to the podcast and let them know, and that would be great. Help spread the word and let us know that you're liking what we're doing, because it really does mean a lot when you do share it and you do give a like and tell those algorithms that they should pay attention. So we appreciate you guys being here and being part of the 7-8 journey. Go check out the website. There's some cool stuff there for you.
For sure.
But until next time, you got any parting words, Lexi?
No, that was good.
Awesome.
I'll let you talk.
All right, guys. Until the next episode, keep getting back up. 7-8. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye. Thanks for being with us today on 7-8, where falling isn't failure and getting back up is just the beginning. If today's episode reminded you of your own journey, if you've fallen and gotten back up again, maybe more times than you can count, we want to hear your 7-8 story. Head to 78.life to share your comeback with us. That's SEVENEIGHT.life. Your story could be featured on a future episode or inspire someone who needs it most. And while you're there, check out the official 7-8 gear. Every piece was designed to remind you and the world what resilience really looks like. Fall 7, rise 8, repeat. We'll see you next time.